Hello everyone, and welcome back to Surviving to Thriving with Chronic Pain. Once again, I am Brianna, and I am doing this as a 3-part series. This is part 2, and I highly recommend that you watch part 1 if you have not done so yet, as they do build upon each other. So as a refresher, a little bit about me. I am Brianna. I am a clinical MSW intern at Still Point. I have my own individual caseload of clients, and with my clients, I specialize in helping them use their strengths to manage their mental and emotional health and facilitate healing. At UNCW, which is where I go to school, they have a strengths-based approach to clients, and I definitely take that to heart. I'm also an advocate for the chronic pain population and an invisible illness survivor myself. Overall, I have a holistic perspective on mental health, which means that I believe mental and physical health are interconnected, which is a value that Still Point shares as well. So today, on Surviving to Thriving with Chronic Pain, we are going to go over what in social work we call the biopsychosocial. So we're going to go over the biological, psychological, emotional, and social impacts of chronic pain. So first, what are the biological impacts of chronic pain? Well, as we talked about last time, pain is the body's warning signal. So it tells your body that something could be going wrong. And people that have chronic pain have that warning signal going off for at least 3 months. And over time, individuals with chronic pain can experience a variety of physical complications. And once again, chronic pain is a warning signal that just doesn't turn off. So, what are some more specific biological impacts of chronic pain? One of them is sleep disturbance, and this has a direct relationship to the intensity of the pain. Studies have shown that as your pain increases, so does your level of sleep disturbance. There's also the potential for cardiovascular complications, such as hypertension, and this has been found independent of other demographics, so independent of age, sex, race, socioeconomic status. Having chronic pain has been identified as a factor that can lead to cardiovascular complications. And one possible explanation for this is an overlap between your nervous system and pain processing part of your body and your cardiovascular system. There's also sexual dysfunction, and this can be lack of arousal, difficulty with certain positions. This can be performance anxiety, and also interpersonal relationship issues, which we'll go over in the social part. There's also an increased treatment difficulty as the course of chronic pain goes on. Sometimes with particular conditions, they can get more complex over time, and it can be harder to manage the pain. And one underlying thing is that the extent of the pain, so the severity of the pain, and the duration of how long you have had chronic pain are key factors in these, actually the biopsych and social components. So, something to think about. What other biological impacts have you experienced from chronic pain? Have you experienced some of the ones that I went over? Or maybe there's some that I didn't mention. So what have you experienced? And now we are on to the psychological impacts. So one thing that people with chronic pain experience is chronic stress. And chronic stress and chronic pain have a bidirectional relationship. So as your chronic pain increases, so does your chronic stress, which increases your chronic pain. And it's sort of this cycle that just keeps on building up over time. And as this chronic stress is weighing in on your brain, it actually changes your brain and your nervous system. And these changes can lead to memory and attention impairments, and it can lead to pessimism, self-blame, catastrophizing, and essentially catastrophizing is what I call Chicken Little syndrome. So the sky is falling. So you might overestimate the impact of something, and with the chronic pain population, the overestimation may be about the pain itself and the perceptions of the pain and its impact in your life. And overall, chronic pain can change your mood, thinking, and behaviors over time with these changes to your brain and your nervous system. And it also is associated with certain psychological disorders. So depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation have high prevalence rates in the chronic pain community. It also leads to low self-esteem, increase in drug and alcohol misuse, and these mental health symptoms can outlast the physical symptoms of the pain, and sometimes it even will come before the chronic pain. So it can come before or after the chronic pain, and these symptoms influence each other. So chronic pain and mental health symptoms also have that bidirectional relationship, just like the chronic pain and chronic stress. So something to think about. Have you noticed a relationship between your chronic pain and mental health? Do you notice that your mental health gets better or worse depending on your chronic pain on a given day? Have you noticed that you experienced more mental health difficulties when you had your onset of chronic pain? And we also have the social impacts of chronic pain. And this originally might stem from a lack of ability to participate in the social activities and hobbies that you used to enjoy. It can have isolation and loneliness. This lack of participation in social activities and hobbies can be intentional. So maybe you are experiencing some mental health symptoms and you just want to be alone. Or it can be unintentional if you are unable to participate in certain activities that you normally would have been able to before chronic pain. And due to these activities and not being able to participate in them when normally you might have, this can lead to miscommunication or feeling misunderstood with other people, maybe with your workplace if you are experiencing pain or another related symptom of chronic pain and you can't attend work or you can't attend an important event that you were excited to see, and some people might not understand, which can lead to relationship conflict. And so your work, social life, and daily activities can all be impacted by chronic pain. And I only went over 3, but there's actually all of these interconnected pieces that are impacted by chronic pain. So as I mentioned, the social life, stress, isolation, loneliness, emotions, fear, anxiety, depression, body, muscle tensing, postural strain, lack of exercise, the mind, that pessimism, poor coping, and catastrophizing. Lifestyle, so poor diet, sleep, and alcohol and drug misuse, and even the environment, so with COVID-19 and worrying about your safety if you have a chronic pain condition. And this diagram is from the Head and Neck Pain Clinic. So something to think about. How have you managed these impacts so far? How have you managed to push through in light of these biopsychosocial impacts with chronic pain? And what can we do about these impacts? I'm going to go over this in more depth in the next video, and also I went over this in the previous video, but as a general premise, we can break the cycle. So that cycle between your chronic stress and chronic pain and all these other impacts, we need to interrupt that cycle. We need to start somewhere, and we need to start as soon as possible, because the faster that we can get a diagnosis, the faster that we can see the right professionals, the faster that we can do our own management of our symptoms, we are better off in the long run. And part of knowing what to do is also getting to know yourself. So some of these impacts are specific to certain conditions, and I tried to be as general as possible and use impacts that are across conditions, but there are some specific biopsychosocial impacts of specific chronic pain conditions. So if you get to know yourself and your condition and also those other demographics that make up who you are as a person, it will help you get to know where to go. And do your homework. So research all of this information and also take a multidisciplinary approach. So you want to be addressing the bio and psych and social impacts of chronic pain. And since they all impact each other, ideally, even as you just get to maybe one, you will also be improving these other domains as well. And remember, you are the expert in yourself and your healing. So, something to think about. What is your next step in this chronic pain journey? We have a lot of great action-oriented items that we're going to go over in the next video, but based on what we went over today, what's your next step? And thank you for listening again. It was an honor to present this additional video on chronic pain and how to go from surviving to thriving. And if you have something that you want to know more about that I talked about today, or something that you would like to know more about in the future, let me know. And I am signing off. I will see you in the next video.